Cheers, queers. Today on the Big Gay Agenda is a new Big Gay Agenda item because I feel like our agendas are cursed at this point. So originally we had another episode that we were going to record, but life got in the way. So we last minute came up with this new Big Gay Agenda item today, where we'll be talking about LGBTQ ships.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
I'm very excited.
So am I. I mean, who doesn't love ships, right?
The internet definitely does. I've been excited about this.
We asked all of you about ships, and it's like the most engagement we've had in social media since Warrior Nun. So, thanks everybody.
A lot of passion surrounding ships.
Yes, which is why we love them. So, are you ready to get into it?
Always.
Yeah.
All right, Kaitlynn. Let's switcheroo. I'm just gonna share my screen. All right.
Oh, I have to add it.
You have to add it, yeah. Okay. So today we're going to talk about, like I said, LGBTQ ships, talking about who we captain, who you captain, and everything in between. So let's
Before we begin, hold on.
No.
I just want to, hey, I'm talking. I want to give a shout out to Theora, maybe now, maybe not, for always creating these PowerPoints. If you're watching, if you're listening, we will describe to you if we need to. But Theora puts in a lot of work for these PowerPoints, and it's very nice of her. So continue.
Thank you. It's a
now
job.
You're glad that I talked?
I'm so glad. I didn't give you the talking rainbow stick, but that's okay.
Wow.
I'm just messing with you.
Dusty stick.
Dusty stick. Listen, this is all about ships and, like you said, Bree, passion. So this may get passionately heated, right? That's why we're all here. Yeah. All right. So let's move on to I am at the end of the fucking PowerPoint because of course I am. I double checked that like 3 times. Okay, sorry.
We only see the first slide. Great.
That's because the first slide and the last slide are exactly the same.
Oh, okay.
This is why. All right. So before we get into the actual ships themselves, I'm good at PowerPoints because part of my job is educating, so I make these all the time. So I always like to start with the beginning. So what is this? Why are we here? Kind of thing. So what is shipping? It's like fandom. It's a term that comes up all around, but what is it? Where did it come from? How did we get this term that's so ubiquitous in just media fan spaces? So the formal definition that I found was that it's the desire by followers of a fandom. So if you want to know what a fandom is, go check out our fandom episode. For 2 or more people, either real life people, which that's anyway, or fictional characters to be in a romantic or a sexual relationship. So that's what shipping is. We want these, for the context of this show, we're going to be talking about fictional, not real life people, fictional characters to get together, basically. So where did that term come from? It may not surprise you. It comes from the English word relationship, so the ship part at the end. And the evolution of this is really interesting. So originally it started as relationshippers was the full word. And then it got condensed. And then as we do as humans, we're that's a really long word. Let's make this smaller. So it got smaller and smaller. And it became our shippers, which sounds X-rated to me and really weird. And then eventually just became shipper. So that's kind of how we got that word. Did you guys know this, or just this
no
information?
I didn't know the long name.
Me either.
The evolution of the name, and I'm okay, they went a really roundabout way to get here.
No, totally. Shipping to me as a native English speaker, I'm okay, relationship, sure, but
right.
To start with relationshipper and then be what are we doing, guys?
I don't know why it makes me think of chocolate chip cookies, but it does.
I don't remember hearing any of these terms until 2012. So did you do research into what the first ever ship was? Is it on the next slide?
Yes, Kaitlynn. Way to bring us to the next slide. Okay, so the next question I have is so who was the first ship?
Who's the first ship?
Kaitlyn's that kid that ruins the ending for
No.
everyone.
I try not to.
Hold on. My screen's
That's
got all
us.
messed up. I know. All right, I'm just not going to be able to see you guys. My screen's got messed up.
We can still see us. Oh, never mind. Oh, it's just laggy.
Hold on. I'm going to... Okay, now that technical difficulties have been resolved, Kaitlynn, omnipotent as you are, or clairvoyant. Yes. So who was the first ship? Because I came across this and thought it was interesting, and it came along with the term.
Is it
what
Charlie
happened.
Chaplin in a train?
Oh my god, how many people are gonna get that? Is my question.
I don't get it.
Oh,
I know who
never
Charlie
mind.
Chapman is.
Oh, okay.
That is not the answer, though.
Okay, what's the answer?
It's Mulder and Scully from the
Okay.
X-Files.
Make ship.
Interesting.
I almost said
Okay.
make ship
It
instead
makes
of make
ship.
sense.
It sure does.
I thought you were saying make shit.
So the term shipping or ship came about in 1995 because of these two, because fans kept watching them and they're like, they should be together. Why are they not together? And so that's where the whole terminology really started and like came from. So you can thank Mulder and Scully for shipping, and that's how we're here today. So that surprised you at all?
They didn't
No.
ship Sherlock Holmes. They fandomed them, but not ship Sherlock with what's the other dude?
What?
Watson. Yeah.
There's plenty of that now, but like I'm sure like people have been shipping stuff forever, but like the term itself and like
Got it.
the rise of that term came from this ship.
Sounds
Just
great.
like the fandom characteristics came from the Sherlock Holmes books. So, because I feel like people are passionate and we've been shipping things forever. It's just now collectively we are all talking about shipping together and we have our own term for it. So there we are. So now that we know what ships are, who was the first ship, let's talk about us and shipping. So what qualities do you look for in a ship? I polled the audience and put it out on, the social medias and what people generally like. And this is the collection of stuff that people have submitted as qualities that they look for in a ship. So the pacing of the ship, is it slow? Is it fast? The writing of the media, if it's well written versus not as well written. How adorable are they? Do the characters have chemistry that works? Angst was a big one, and I agree with. Is there an element of hope for the ship? Some people like certain tropes, like enemies to lovers came up a bunch of times. One I found really interesting was, are the characters in the ship relatable?
Mm-hmm.
Which is an interesting one. And I guess if you relate to it, you're more likely to like be drawn to it. Elements of vulnerability between the characters and elements of trust. And so do you agree, disagree, or is there anything that's not on here that you look for in a ship? Like, what do you guys look for?
They're queer.
That's all.
That's it? No, but
it's
definitely
not.
Recently. I mean, think about it. If there's any queer ship, I at least more likely to be like, all right, fine, I'll root for it.
That what you shared in the slide is a great general collection of what makes you ship it. Some couple in media. And then I think after that, you're just getting into the specifics of what you like personally. So I think that's a really great like generalization of why people ship things. But I personally do look for like, I don't, and it's weird because some ships that I've had, I would never have thought that I would ship them until it happened. So I never look for my ships. They just slap me in the face, to be honest.
You just end up on the ship and you're like, how did I get here?
Yeah, and I'm like, what freaking
this ocean?
DeLorean did I get off of just now? Where I'm like, okay, fine. I guess I will put on a tricorn hat and get a peg leg because we're pirates up in here.
Oh my gosh.
What do you think, Kaitlynn? Do you agree, disagree?
I mean, I feel like the chemistry is the biggest one. Because like
Yeah.
the two characters, and that's why
That's
the
true.
crack ships become a thing, because
Mhm.
two characters have too much chemistry. And it's
Yep.
casting's fault.
It's the actor's fault for being so damn chemical.
Yeah, but preparing for this episode, I realized that I must like enemies to lovers more than I thought I did.
Yep. I noticed that too. Me. I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, it's just like something about it.
I'm
It's the
telling you, it
tension.
sneaks up on you. It's the tension. You don't
Tension.
sometimes you don't even realize what you go for. And I think this is true in real life and in your fictional relationship preferences. You don't realize what you actually gravitate towards until there's enough of them to where you look back and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it reminded me of this girl that like I really did not like, and like we kind of both didn't get along with each other, and then ended up having the biggest crush on her.
Aw.
Yep, there you
It
go.
was bad.
I'm telling you.
I will say, yeah, in researching this was illuminating, because you just ship your ships and you don't think about it. When you actually have to sit down and think about it, I really like the tragic ones. I've noticed.
Yes, you
like,
do.
My list of ships for like the tragic section was like I had to cut them all out because there were so many. I'm like, wow, this is
You and your
really
angst.
revealing. I love it. It's a different level of chemistry. Because for me, some people are just like, I want it to be happy immediately. I don't like that personally in media, because like it's about the journey, not the destination for me. Like I like the journey. And if it happens immediately, there's no journey anymore. So
I like if it starts out.
Aspect.
It could start out happy and then get angsty, like a ship we're going to talk about. Like it starts out and you're like, hey, this is awesome. And then the whole ride is just angst is basically it.
Yes, I like that too. And there just needs to be some angst to keep. It's like a chemical that goes into the chemistry. It keeps it interesting. It keeps it going.
Like lovers to enemies to lovers. That's one
when
I
it
like.
Keeps like going.
Yeah.
What's an example of that one? Do you have one at the top of your head?
Raylla,
yeah. Yeah, like literally.
I wasn't here for most of that podcast, okay? I wasn't in depth in it.
Speaking of that, I love you guys set me up like this. Let's move on to the first ship that really launched this podcast. So if you're new to this podcast, welcome. Way back when, we started off as Big Witch Energy, and we were focused on one television show called Motherland, Fort Salem. And Bree and I founded the podcast and got together because we love the show. And I think it's safe to say that the reason we're here is mainly because of this ship that was in the show with Raylla Collar and Scylla Ramshorn in the show Motherland, Fort Salem. So they get honorary like Hall of Fame status for this episode, because without them, there wouldn't be a podcast. We wouldn't be here, because they're the reason we're really here. So yes, Bree, please explain Raylla to the good people at home that don't know them or would like to reminisce, because it's all about the journey.
If you haven't seen Motherland,
go watch it.
Go watch it.
Or listen to our episodes.
Find it somewhere. There's a way. There's a way.
Somebody asked me that, and I was like, is it available anywhere? It used to be on Hulu, Disney, and then they started removing stuff. Like,
yeah, I think it might. You can buy it now.
Yeah, I think you have to pay. It's like $2 an episode or something. But
first of all, rude.
Yes.
Secondly,
homophobic.
It is homophobic. So, Motherland is a show that starts off episode 1 very queer, and because I had never seen anything like that in episode 1 of a television show that was basically your prime time type television show, and they go in hard because Raylla gets to basic training, and then she meets this girl, and then they're up against a wall. That's basically
Yep. They be fucking in the first episode.
Yeah.
So it starts off. They go. This is a ship, a sapphic ship that goes 0 to 100 in the first episode. Which, what?
true to life. Anyway,
It's great.
and then you find, as the episodes come, you find out some interesting things about Scylla that make you doubt her loyalty. I don't want to is it spoilers if somebody hasn't, if you haven't seen it and you want to watch it?
Just in case, throwing this out there, there will be spoilers for the vast majority of these ships. We're going to be going through them pretty quickly, so even if we spoil it a little teeny tiny bit, please go watch whatever this is anyway.
Yes, please. So basically, there's a whole "is she evil? Is she not evil?" question for a while, and then there's definitely not a great situation that's going on here, and then we have the great they're apart time, and we have the great coming back together time, and that's basically it. I mean, but they had it's a ride.
But what was the trope? The trope for them was they were lovers.
It was
enemies,
lovers to enemies to lovers
to married,
lovers to enemies, lovers to enemies to lovers to married.
Yeah, so it's a journeyless ship, like you said.
Yeah,
but their example is super rare of just they start off together immediately, episode 1, and then go on a journey. And they are such a well done ship, well acted. We even had the privilege of talking to Taylor Hickston, who played Raylla Collar, about her process and how she played Raylla, and it speaks, not speaks, but it reads very genuine. It's well acted chemistry, so it has all the elements that make a really good ship, that you can found a podcast on, which we did.
Yep. And
this is applause for you guys for creating the podcast.
This is a hydrate for our OG lesbian Jesus, yes. Raylla Collar.
Exactly.
That's where that came from.
It's hydrate
yourselves.
I would also like to say that I don't have many ships in my life that I still ship, and I still ship these two, because for some reason they hit all the boxes for me, because witches, yes. You witches, women.
What's another W word?
And wonder.
Well, I mean,
I'm just messing with you.
You had the kind of anti-authority thing going on. Yeah. That was really attractive to me.
They were both rebels in a way.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
So you had the rebel thing going on, and you had the terrorism aspect, which was interesting.
What'd you say, Kaitlynn?
That whole show was a rebellion.
Yeah,
but you have them on opposite sides of the of the rebellions for a minute. So yeah, but you are correct. The show itself is fantastic. Hence, why we talked at length about this show. Other thing I want to note is they have the classic sapphic ship, where it's one is blonde and one is brunette. Classic, yes, they do. Classic, dating back to the days of yore, when that was the only way you could have a female ship, is if they had different hair colors, so you can tell them apart. Go back. It's very consistent for decades. One had to be blonde, one had to be brunette. Otherwise, was it queer?
I mean, yes, I do. There was really only one difference that I can think of off the top of my head, and it was just because that actor happened to have a different hair color. I mean, it was different than the other actor's hair color.
It's rare though. But yeah, they always have rare. Because you can't have sisters, then it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely love them. Check out Motherland if you haven't. We have so many episodes about it, interviews. And if you're listening, Amalia, check the DMs, girl.
Get back in here.
Get back in here so we can talk to you. We were so close, guys.
We were so close.
Very, very.
Tag her, remind her that we're trying to talk to her. Anyway, so Amalia, please come on the podcast.
I don't care what year it is. I will talk to that woman about that character.
And I know we could talk about them all day, and we have, but we will move on from our honorary big A energy ship that started the whole thing, and from there we'll move on to what I will deem this section Maiden voyages. So these photos. listening, go on YouTube / if you're a patron, you'll get this early, and check out the visuals that go with this. It only gets worse.
It's like terrible clip art.
Yes,
I love it. It's so bad it's good. I love it.
exactly.
It's the boat. The boat is just
The
primary
boat is
color.
yeah. It's just
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Continue, Theora.
Oh no, that's part of this was to be entertaining for you guys.
I love it.
All right, so I'm calling this the LGBTQ Maiden voyages because I feel like, at least for me, growing up in a time where like outwardly queer media was like few and far between, I feel like shipping started with like a lot of heterosexual ships because that's all we had. And the internet didn't exist and I didn't have the ability to ship things, but like those ships existed. So for this section, we're going to talk about our first like queer ship that like we can recall shipping for the very first time. Like what was the maiden voyage, the first ship you ever captained? So we'll start first with what will be surprising to no one is Bree's ship because you talked about it in the fandom episode. And that is well, I'll let you explain Bree for the listeners at home that can't see this.
All right. If you never watched Buffy and can get that, I mean, watch it.
Yes, it's so good.
It's so good. There are a lot of problematic things that have come out in the after, but the show itself is still good for a lot of reasons and brought a lot of first things to the world, including the first recurring queer relationship on primetime TV, which was Willow and Tara. So season 4, they introduced the character Tara, who was a friend of Willow's, and you didn't see her all that much. They went to a Wicca group together, and that's where they met. And then as time went on, there was an episode that is kind of an acclaimed episode of that show called Hush. It was a silent episode.
So good. I love that episode.
And in that episode, you see quite a bit more of Tara because she's helping Willow figure out what's going on with the town, which is in the grips of these fairy tale monsters in the episode. So then you get to see their relationship develop from there. They become a couple, and we deal with Willow coming out to, first and foremost, the most important scene, Buffy, where it was Buffy is taken aback and like doesn't really know what to say. It's a very awkward scene, but she's supportive. She just doesn't know what to say, kind of thing, because it's out of left field for her because she's never thought about that. Because Willow had been dating Oz, played by Seth Green. Before that, so for her to have been kind of keeping this to herself, and then all of a sudden she's like, hey, so I am not straight and I am dating Tara. It's like a big thing. So after that, we got some really great scenes with these two, and it was all fine and dandy. There was a breakup at one point because Willow, they wanted to do that whole addiction storyline with Willow. And then unfortunately, as soon as they get back together, guess who comes knocking? The bury your gays trope.
Yeah, like, oh my God.
Let me tell you, if I had not been spoiled to know that this was going to happen, I would have lost my ever-loving mind. I still watched the episode and I was still angry as hell because it didn't make any freaking sense.
No, let me say for the baby gays out there that have never watched this show, the stray bullet that kills Tara walked so that Clexa could run. Like this was like the blueprint before we even get the Clexa shit, because like it made no sense and it was some bullshit, and rightful outrage ensued from this nonsense from Willow and the audience.
And yes, you had the outrage, and then afterwards Willow goes evil, and that's another problematic thing.
Oh my God,
it's just like, 5 layers of what are you doing with our queer characters right now?
It's like they took a bomb to the ship and then poisoned the ship and added a few demon pirates onto the ship, and it just like kept getting worse, and it spiraled from this piece of homophobia that Tara didn't deserve that shit.
So it's like, we're gonna kill Tara, and then we're gonna make the other queer character evil because of the angst that she's in over the death of her partner. So that she just got back.
Yeah.
And I mean, and
yes. Don't leave that out.
This wasn't something, this wasn't like a scene where you just were like, kind of saw her get shot. This was a scene where a bullet came through a window, went through her chest, and blood splattered on the other character, Willow. And you saw her visually, viscerally getting like murdered by a stray bullet.
After they just made up from being apart. Like, it's literally Clexa. Like, this was the blueprint, guys. Fucked up shit.
And it was not handled well afterward. I mean, eventually they gave Willow another love interest, and everyone hated her.
I liked her.
I liked her too.
I like Kennedy too.
She was a sassy little molassie, but a lot of people didn't like her, and I think it had a lot to do with the negativity surrounding Tara's death. So
yeah, I think that's fair. And then in the Buffy world, maybe this is a Joss Whedon thing, I don't really know, but I noticed in the show it's very like OTP, like one true pair type of characters, where it's like the character gets like one love interest that's like the most meaningful one, which is why I find Willow really interesting, because she has two based on the phases of her sexuality. So I think people were kind of maybe mad because like that kind of almost like breaks the norm of like what that show had, where it's like really Buffy had Angel and it was always about Angel even when she was with other people and like that kind of stuff.
Oh my god, I could do without Buffy's relationships.
Yeah, me too. Well, especially Spike myself. But
that's what I mean. Like, so, yeah. Anyway, we're not getting on a Buffy tangent, but no. Okay, I understand the outrage. But
so my main thought overarching all of this is that this was a time period where it was the end of the 90s, the early 2000s type era, where you still had like I don't think you had much representation in writers, in directors, in people. Like you didn't have those voices sharing information on, and you didn't have audience outcry to the extent like we had. That was the first one that I recall where it was a big, huge shout from the community. Yeah. So from there, it had to build and build and build because we kept getting shitty representation and shitty outcomes. So it was a straight white dude's vision of what he wanted to do with the show with no regard for queer audiences. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that has not changed. It's gotten better, but like that is prevalent in queer media, like just unfortunately.
Cis straight white men.
Yeah. Yes, to clarify. But regardless, they are an iconic ship for many reasons. Groundbreaking at the time. It was well paced. It hits a lot of the elements of like why you would captain a ship like them.
Yeah, it was like the first time I ever saw like women actually be able to just be in a relationship on TV at a time, at prime time. Like, wow, they're actually like letting them kiss and like be cute and shit.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, bye Maiden Voyage, Tara and Willow. Forever you are immortalized. At this time, we'll move on to
mine. That makes no sense.
Oh no, we jumped. We're jumping.
It's back.
There we go. Kaitlyn's.
Okay, so mine isn't canon. Okay,
yours is a crack ship.
Yes,
that's okay. You got to start somewhere
because. So my journey, I had to learn that you don't ship real life people when I was very, very tiny relative to all of this stuff. So Pretty Liars is the first time like I feel like I got into ships, and my first one was technically Ezria because I didn't let myself be queer yet. So, and I was also very innocent and I was in 7th grade and didn't know that teachers and students shouldn't be together. So I always love Spencer and Arya. And then I heard someone talk about Sparia, and I was like, I like those two together, so I jumped on that ship. And I don't have as much to say as Bree, but those two together, they had such great chemistry. I mean, there's 4 girls, like they split down the middle, and the two, like Hannah and Emily could be together, and Spencer and Arya could be together. Like that's.
I would ship Hannah and Emily.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like they both split off really nicely, and their chemistry is great.
Someday we need to talk about this, Kaitlynn.
Yes, I know we have talked about this, and
I mean, like in depth.
Yeah,
I think you guys should.
This and then we have to do. I mean, this is Grey's Anatomy with Pierre. But those are the 2 episodes that we need to do at one point. But yes, so Spencer and Arya. Hopefully, somebody out there. We'll see what I see.
And they did, because the ship name.
I'm sure there's fan fiction. There's all the things. People see the vision. Okay, crack ships I think are so fun because it's like you get to make it whatever the hell you want. Yeah, it's fun. Okay,
it's not my fault they had chemistry.
No, it's never your fault. All right, speaking of something that had many faults, we'll jump to my first ship. I had to think about this, and then I was like, this actually was my first ship, but I have to explain the whole thing because it's anyway. So if you've ever seen Sailor Moon, because I used to watch that, this was like a middle school for me. I watched Sailor Moon. And in it, 2 of the outer planet Sailor Scouts, Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune, I was like, I'm feeling these 2 because one of them is like more like a mask presenting woman, which mask representation for women is so like severely lacking. And this isn't like an anime forum coming from like Japan. And so like the OGs in Japan, and then in America, I got like the dubbed version. And I need to point that out because there's problematic shit that Bree is smiling. So maybe you know about this.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to get into this if you're unaware. So anyway, so you have Sailor Uranus, who's like mask presenting woman, and then you have Sailor Neptune, who's more like femme, and like they have crazy chemistry and do things like ballroom dance together and like go on dates and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm feeling this ship. However, in the American dubbed version, they explain these 2 characters that they're cousins. What the and the what the fuck that Bree is talking about is because in the Japanese version, they're dating, like they are partners, but in America they're like, we can't have lesbians on the screen, and so they made them cousins. Meanwhile, they didn't change any of the content, so they're still like going out on dates and ballroom dancing, and like, how is that better? Because they're promoting incest rather than just letting them be queer.
What? Wait a minute. Hold on. So they were together, but America
couldn't have like the queer.
Bullshit.
America censored it and made it incest, which is somehow okay.
Yes, because it's just like Ezreal, where the teacher-student relationship is okay. As long as it's straight.
Heaven, clutch your pearls if it's queer. But it's like, I was like, but at the time I was watching this, I didn't have the internet. I didn't realize that. But I'm like, there's chemistry between these 2. Why am I shipped? Like, I want to ship them, but they're cousins, and then found out that they're actually canonically queer in the original Japanese version of this anime. And I was like, I wasn't going crazy. Like, these 2 are very cute together. So I feel validated, and I'm mad at America for making me think they weren't queer when they were.
Freaking America.
And just for reference for people, this first came out in Japan in 93.
Yeah.
Or 92. Sorry, 92.
I think I started watching it like late 90s, early 2000 is when it came to America. Like at the same time, like Pokemon used to be on the TV and things like that, like the show, like the OG show in America when we got it. But this was some fucked up shit. But honestly, I love them. And now you can hopefully get the real actual like translated version. Get the Japanese version and just with American or whatever subtitles you need. You will not be disappointed. They're really cute. It's a fun show. But these 2 is actually my OG queer ship because yeah, I had them very early because it came from not America.
Yeah, it came out in 95.
Yeah,
which was 2 years before the ending of the show.
Which was 2 years before I was born.
Yeah, super fun. So if you're into anime and you haven't watched Sailor Moon's really fun, iconic. People still cosplay it all the time. It's
Even if you're
phenomenal.
not into anime, it's worth watching because
so good.
I'm not a huge anime person, but
Me
I
neither.
watch the shit out of that.
Love them. Love the show overall. It's very fun.
Are they in it prevalently?
Just
no, they
No.
show up in later seasons because it's like it's like the original Sailor Scouts are like kind of like it's based off the planets, so it's like the planets that are closest to like Earth and the sun, and then these are the outer Sailor Scouts. They come in later seasons and like movies and things like that. But top tier queerness, mass presenting woman, like it's all around great. Fuck you, America, for making them cousins and not thinking it was weird.
wait, I'm pretty sure
They
it was
like make them like best friends or neighbors.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever, because it's like they're way too romantic with each other. It's just they're like incest is fine. I fucking hate America. Anyway, like I don't want to rant all day about this,
guess
but I love them.
But I guess they're like, let's make them cousins so they have no reason to think that they're together.
Oh my god. Yeah, exactly. It's to ward off the gay, but they're still on screen being romantic, so it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Do they ever
Anyway.
kiss?
I think they do in the Japanese version.
Okay, so they do cut that out.
I think they cut that out. It's just, but like there's watch it and tell me it's not queer. Like it's very queer. Okay, so that was our first our maiden voyages, if you will, into shipping. And so we'll move into just ships in general, starting first with happy ships. So the ships that
hotel. Why is there a skyscraper?
because I couldn't find an island in clip art that I could use for this. So
Wow.
it's just ships that keep on sailing. So they keep coming back to land and they just keep making voyages. So happy ships,
They
not
keep going
ships
to
that
the
sink.
penthouse.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to start this off with A League of Their Own because there are many, many, many ships from that show that I could talk about, but I'm choosing to talk about Birdie and Grace because I think they're an important ship that influences other queerness in the show in such a beautiful way. And we had the privilege of talking to Lee, who plays Birdie, about their role. And so if you're not familiar with that couple, they're kind of like a tertiary couple in A League of Their Own, the series. They're in Max Chaplin's storyline. So they're the African Americans in the show, like community part, and Birdie is Max's uncle. And Birdie is kind of the window for Max into like living as a queer person kind of out in the open in the 1940s America, which is crazy, but this character is based on real people who really did this. So I think that speaks volumes about the ship and just people and their resilience. And Birdie is a trans man living outwardly like that and has a wife named Gracie. And they're the fucking cutest thing ever, and it's just very positive relationship of just queer love that can exist despite an oppressive system, and like their relationship influences Max to figure out how to live as their authentic self, and so it's a beautiful ship that creates more queerness in the universe, and I just absolutely love the two of
It's
them.
my favorite ship from the show.
I know.
overall.
They're so cute. And Birdie's such a sharp dresser, and so is Gracie. They're just adorable.
They're so sweet.
Yeah. There's nothing. I mean, they just make you feel warm. I feel like it's just happy. It's just warm. And even in a world of oppression, they make you feel happy and warm.
So much so that they even in the show create their own queer community where they have like queer parties at their houses and like they foster community and like queer found families and things like that, which is a trope that I love, and they're like the inspiration for all of that. I can't think of a better word off the top of my head, but like, so the facilitators of that. So they're just such a lovely ship that puts more gayness out in the world, and like that's a ship I want to captain.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Putting on my captain's hat.
Oh man, I wish I had one to wear for this, but
I
do not.
Damn it.
Bree, you always think of props later, but you always you're like, can I have one? Which I find impressive and I love.
Do you have one, Bree?
Is she going to get one? Because I can't see anything.
I don't. No, I don't have one.
Okay, I'm going to move to the next ship. These just happen to both be mine. This next ship is my forever OTP. and that's Delphine and Cosima from Orphan Black. I absolutely love the two of them. And again, it's the journey, the destination. And Orphan Black was a show starring Tatiana Maslany. It's a masterclass of acting if you've never seen it. She plays at least 12 different characters in the show. And I don't want to spoil what it's about because I didn't understand the premise until I watched it. And I was like, wow. And it's just, her acting is mind-boggling and impressive. And I do want to talk about that show one day for a lot of reasons. It's a phenomenal show. But in the show, one of her characters, Cosima, is a scientist, and she runs into like scientist in college who's like a teacher's aide or whatever named Delphine. And they start this relationship based on the fact that they're both really geeky and just love science. And it's like the first time, like at the time I was like going into like biology as like my college degree. And I was like, a queer, nerdy, like scientist? Like, when do we ever see this? Because for me, the media at the time was like, you're in high school or you're a degenerate because of Hays codes and things like that. So like to see like, this is the first time I ever felt like kind of represented on the screen because I was like two scientists who are just like being openly queer. And Delphine is goes on the journey of figuring out she's bisexual, Cosima's a lesbian, and I just love them. Their relationship is very much like lovers, enemies. It's all of the things. But at the end of the day, like their love for each other is like it's almost an unbreakable bond. And the show continues in like a audiobook format where Tatiana reads like her lines. And so their story continues like in the aftermath where they're like married and things like that. And it's a beautiful relationship. And I really love it. And the show is just phenomenal television show.
See, it makes a lot of sense since you're such a women in STEM.
Women in STEM, yeah, like positive queer rep in STEM. Like that was a rarity for me to see in like visual media at the time.
For sure,
this show's amazing. I just love this show. Okay, so to be fair, I'm not like a huge shipper of this ship. Like I love that it's there because go gays, but the show in general is just so amazing. And I'm so glad for my friends at the time who like forced me to watch it. Because I'm introduced to all these shows within the past like 3 years.
It's a good show.
It's a phenomenal show. I don't make them like this anymore. By that, I mean they get multiple seasons. Shade, fire shot. Okay, speaking of multiple seasons and anyway, we'll on to Kaitlynn.
So the first one that I put on here is Ava Sharp and Sarah Lance from DC's Legends of Tomorrow. And their ship name is Avalance. Not to be confused with an avalanche.
It does look like that when you're just flat reading.
Yeah.
They are just... Okay, so this is an example of enemies to lovers because they hate each other for like a half of season 3, I believe.
Nice.
And then... Sorry, I just thought that their first kiss is like there's pirates there.
Yeah.
And there's like
captaining.
a portal, and then it's just pirates. And then like they get together finally, and then they become like co-runners of the ship of this like time travel team.
So they're like the moms of the family.
Yes. And so they're so cute together. And I didn't know whether or not to put them actually here because, like, technically they do end up together. They're married, I believe.
Yes, they are.
Sarah's pregnant with Ava's baby. Biologically, both of theirs because now, spoiler alert, Sarah's part alien.
Mm-hmm.
After, it's a whole thing.
It's a thing.
But they get not kidnapped, but they get thrown in jail at the end, and then they got canceled. And it's bullshit. But but the leading up to it, just seeing them together, and they had this one episode that was basically them in IKEA.
Nice. I love that episode.
It was my favorite episode, and it's so domestic.
Well, yeah, because Ava's lost in IKEA, and it's her like thing where she can't get out.
Yeah, and it's just like because all their insecurities, they have to fight their insecurities to get out of this IKEA. And also, I got stuck in an IKEA. I couldn't figure out how to get out, and I was like, "This is so relatable."
Yeah, they have to do things like put together furniture together.
And then
lesbians.
pick a mattress, and it's like how
Yeah.
many years they're gonna have to like
Mhm.
commit to this one mattress. And it's beautifully done. And there's a deleted scene of them just putting away dishes, and it's just like seeing a relationship like that. And since their normal lives are so crazy and like not normal, and having that episode be more normal and seeing them do things like kind of hopeful, you're like, oh, this could be me one day, especially for people who are like maybe just coming out and be like having to. I know when I was younger, I was like, I can't picture my future with a dude. Like, I'm never going to get married. Then once I came out, I was like, oh, I can see it more now. And so, like, seeing that episode, it was just so beautiful. And
They're
so
such
cute.
opposites because, you know,
They are.
the whole crux of it is that Sarah is kind of a player in her past. So she like she's gets girls throughout time, gets dudes throughout,
which was very nice to watch.
So you had your bisexual rep right there. And so she goes throughout time being like this irresistible person to so many other people, and then she finds Ava, who is very like a by the book kind of like federal government agent type person, and wants this forever type thing, and has doubts that, you know, so you get Ava and doubting, like wondering if Sarah's ever going to want to settle down, and Sarah going, do I want to settle down? Like, is this what I want? So you get that whole fun evolution, and they do it, the climax of which is in the episode Kaitlynn talked about with IKEA.
The juxtaposition, I believe is the word, between the two of them is also makes it, because they are so different. Also, if you're ever questioning your sexuality, go watch the birthday episode.
Fair enough. Yes.
Just type in Legends Tomorrow birthday and it'll probably come up. It's a great scene.
Yeah. Oh, and I need to do one shout out for the episode where they're in like Viking time period, and they're wearing like Viking shiz. Sweet Jesus. Viking Ava.
Attire?
Yeah,
Viking Ava.
That was the episode when Ava basically says that she's gay. And then she's like, I don't really like dudes. And then Sarah just gives her this look.
The side eye. That's like the first time Sarah's like, oh, really?
Like, oh.
Because I mean, she looks hot in all that Viking gear. Like she's about to shield Maiden your ass into bed.
That was the start of something new.
And then the scene with where Sarah ends up under the desk, being very mischievous when Ava's boss comes in.
Wasn't that the birthday?
Yep, that was it.
Well, on that happy birthday note, let's move on to Kaitlyn's next ship.
Woo!
That she wants to scream about. Please explain, dear.
Okay, so I had a feeling that this is coming next, which is why I said start of something new in the last one. So, all right, my current favorite ship is currently Maddox and Ashlyn from High School Musical, the series. Such a long name.
It really is.
But those two are so cute, and I just want to talk about them so bad. So my first note about them was they are so cute. But anyway, so Ashlyn in the first 2 seasons basically dates this guy named Big Red. And he's like called Biggie for short. In season 3, they go to camp, and that's where Maddox comes in. And Maddox is a full lesbian, like is comfortable with herself, and is just like so happy to meet everybody. She's gone to camp. It's most of the kids from the East High, because it's the same school. Okay. Side note. The show is based in where they filmed High School Musical, but it's the kids who actually go there. So they put on High School Musical as their musical for the fall, and that's why it's called High School Musical, the series.
Oh,
I needed to
okay.
explain that.
That's so
I
meta. Yeah,
understand.
okay. No, thank you.
So yeah, the first season they do High School Musical. They were going to do High School Musical 2 the second season. They ended up doing Beauty and the Beast for other reasons, but that's not relevant right now. But that's why it's called that. So it's based in their school. So those kids come to this camp, and only 2 of them had come to this camp before, but now they're all musical theater kids and very close, so they came here. So Maddox meets Ashlyn, and it's not like an instant ship thing, but Ashlyn is still obsessed with Big Red and like writing him every day. And she ends up like hating this other counselor named Val. And Maddox realized, oh, this is the same way I thought about Madison when we both went to camp here and we ended up dating. But Maddox had already told Ashlyn that something else about herself, and Ashlyn got pissed off because she doesn't want to be told about herself. She wants to, she's like, I'm just secure. I know myself. You can't tell me who I am. Anyway, I know this is very long-winded. I'm trying to get everything in here. So then they have this thing, and there's fireworks at the end of this color war, and Ashlyn hugs Val, and she's like, oh shit, I'm bi. So like there's literal fireworks there. So they realize that. This whole thing, they're doing Frozen the musical as the camp show. And this is very convoluted if you don't watch the show. So they're filming a documentary throughout this camp. Okay. So it's a TV show putting on a musical, filming a documentary about the musical with the kids doing the musical. But it's directed by Corbin Bleu. Only the documentary is directed by Corbin Bleu from High School Musical. The actual High School Musical. Sorry. It's so convoluted. It's like the whole show is very meta. So in the documentary, Ashlyn's boyfriend, Big Red, comes out as bi, which is very weird because he doesn't even go to the camp. He's not in it until the last episode of that season. So, and there's this trailer for the documentary, and it makes Ashlyn and Maddox look like they're in love with each other, because I mean they are, but they don't know that yet. And at the end, it's just like Big Red saying, hi, I'm Big Red, I'm Ashlyn's boyfriend, and I'm bi. And everyone's just like, what the hell? So basically by the 4th season, 3/4 of the show is queer. It's amazing. For really, they all should be queer, because seriously, the chemistry between every single actor is phenomenal. But so season 4. Stop with season 3. Season 4. This is more stuff I have to explain first so you understand. So they're filming High School Musical 4. The actual series, not this. The movie is High School Musical. They're filming a 4th one of the High School Musical reunion with the actual actors from the High School Musical movies at the place where they shot a High School Musical. So East High. So there's some of the original actors in it. They're sprinkled throughout the show too. But in this season, they're filming that movie. And then also the kids in this actual show are putting on High School Musical 3 for their spring show. Their senior, well, no, it's the fall. I don't know. It's the last show. So they're going to do High School Musical 3 and then also film High School Musical 4 at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So Maddox and her brother Jet, who was in the last season as well, doesn't go to their school, but they end up transferring to the school because of the film, and they needed a student PA. So Maddox came, but they also needed a Chad for High School Musical 3 because all the ensemble kids went to do the movie and get paid to be extras instead of doing the musical.
Got it.
I won't get too much into that because that's not necessary, but apparently it is in my head. But anyway, before Maddox even gets there, Ashlyn and her are texting nonstop about their current relationships and giving each other relationship advice. And yes, because that's going to go great. And then once Maddox shows up, Ashlyn becomes a bumbling idiot and can't figure out how to walk and move her legs.
Fair.
So they're pining for each other the whole time. And in this photo is the Halloween episode. This photo, for people who are listening, is the Halloween episode, and they are staring at each other in front of a piano. But before we even get to that scene, my favorite part of this entire show is when Maddox tries to scare everybody. They flicker the lights, and she looks like she got electrocuted and just falls over. They ask, what should we do? Ashlyn screams, call an ambulance, runs over to Maddox, says, I'll give her mouth to mouth. And then she turns to everyone, as a friend.
Sure, Jan. Sure.
And it's my favorite line of the entire show. And I didn't realize it, but when I was preparing for this, I rewatched all their scenes. And there's another time, like later, where the soundboard for the musical goes up and like starts sparking, and people start running over, and someone goes, Maddox, are you okay? Ashlyn goes, do you need mouth to mouth? But anyway, so they do end up together, but I have gripes about this because in this episode, in the Halloween episode is episode 4 of the last season. There's 8 episodes in the last season. And they sing, and then in this photo that you see, they almost kiss. And then I think you see it in the behind, but there's this kid with like a pumpkin mask on, and he comes through the window right as they're about to freaking kiss because they're lesbian. I mean, Ashlyn is bi. Okay, so we need to make sure that's clear. They're not like lesbians, but like because they're queers. So of course they get interrupted. And then it's still pining the rest of the season because they're like don't know if they like each other, but I mean they're literally about to kiss. Obviously you both like each other, just kiss each other. Anyway, so they finally get together in the finale.
Action.
Okay.
Of course they do. It's a TV show.
Yes. Well, I mean they confess their feelings for each other, and then Ashlyn goes, so we should just be friends, right? And Maddox goes, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Or it might have been the other way around. By the way, then they part, and then they just come back together, kiss once, freak out in gay panic, and then start kissing each other for, I mean, like a good 15, 20 seconds. They put the camera on a different character who interrupts them, but they don't care. They just keep on kissing. So they could like say like, oh, this kiss is really long. We just can't show the whole thing. That's my theory, at least. But then that's it. We get nothing else. We get one scene of them together.
And that's rude.
I mean, so basically they end up together, but it doesn't count because we don't see it, right? I'm kidding. It does. And they're just really cute, and I just love them together. They're both great actresses, and Julia, who plays Ashlyn, is just my favorite character of the whole shows. And I was going to interview her right before there was a strike, so that's sad. But maybe one day. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk about the show that I could go on forever about, and I really do. So if anybody out there watches the show, please message me.
Kaitlynn needs people to talk to about this.
I really do, because I know this isn't a show Theora and Bree would like.
I like musicals.
I mean, maybe if you want to watch I don't like the first season that much. So my order for this show is 4, 3, 2, 1. Like it gets better each season. It also gets queer each season.
Right.
So
well, obviously.
Is there a correlation?
There is.
But it's so good, and I love it. And even though it's like a kid's show, I don't know. It's great. It's great, and I love it. And they're so cute. I mean, look at them.
I mean, kids.
Also, I'm a sucker for someone who can sing and play the piano. Like,
of course you are.
Of course you are.
I didn't like they sing.
Yeah.
But like, Ashlyn is the best character there is.
I get it, girl. We all have our things. Women with swords. Doesn't matter the context.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter what's
Also,
going on.
I just realized
Into it.
apparently I have a thing for redheads, which I never knew. Because I was looking at this and then I looked over and I'm like, there's us with Jess. And I'm like, when did this happen? Because I never. And then I'm like, oh, wait. There was the Allison Hannigan thing for a little while.
Yeah.
I'm like, when did that happen? So
Ships are revealing.
Mm-hmm,
they really are. But it has to be like dark red hair, apparently.
Of course.
But yeah.
All right,
Thank
Kaitlynn.
you.
Have you ranted and
No,
expressed
but,
all
like-
of your passion?
No, I don't think that there's enough. But I have to stop myself because I think you guys have been listening to this for like 20 minutes now of my convoluted. If anybody followed my description of this show, I do apologize because I know half of that was random, but the show can be really random. So.
It sounds super meta, and I didn't know that.
And it's
surface level.
hilarious. It's so much. I just love as a friend. Mouth to mouth. Best thing ever. All right, continue. I'll try to compose myself over here in the meantime.
Well, May Maddox and Ashlyn keep on sailing off screen. since
Oh,
the
speaking
show
of
ended.
sailing, the person who plays Maddox, his name is Sailor.
That's
No
a
way.
really
That's
weird, of course, because
hilarious.
it's meta. It's everything is meta. But
Yep.
let's move on to a bunch of ships that keep on sailing that we have talked about on this show, and we're going to start with just the Heartstopper the entire show because every couple on this show, and now that I've read the graphic novels, they all have happy endings, and they're all queer, and they're all the best.
I apologize. I laughed because I read one of the ships that Theora put up here, but continue. Let's do it.
So there's many ships on this show that cover all the letters of the alphabet mafia. So we have Tara and Darcy, who me and Kaitlynn scream about every time they're on screen. They're the cute lesbian couple who are just fucking adorable. Of course, there's Nick and Charlie, which was a fan favorite. So if you hit us up on social media and had Nick and Charlie, here's your Nick and Charlie moment. They get their own, everybody gets their own slide. They're such a beautiful ship with Nick, who's bisexual, and Charlie, who's gay. And, you know, the story really follows the two of them and their relationship and their, you know, struggles with mental health and things like that go beyond just romance, which is something the writer Alice Osman, who's asexual herself, was explicitly trying to do with this. And it translates really beautifully. We also have Elle and Tao. Elle's a trans woman, and then Tao, who's the token heterosexual. But the two of them are like the cutest. Like they're the slow burn ship. Like the head ship is the slow burn ship. It's like the best.
Oh my gosh.
I love them so much. But they're the two idiots that take forever to realize they like each other. But like they've been friends forever. So it's like childhood friend to like lovers kind of deal. And they're just the fucking cutest. And then we have our ace king Isaac and his romance with reading. So Isaac and books, a great ship, and that's a ship that goes on forever. And his journey to figure out his identity and his kind of sexuality happens in season 2 primarily, which we will have. It's not available now, but we will be getting into that very soon with them. But all of these relationships are very like heartwarming, hence like Heartstopper, and like really well done, really well thoughtful. They're authentic. You know, it was written by a queer person, and just you have every color of the rainbow in this show. And it's just all of them have happy end. There's more ships that happen in season 2 that I couldn't fit them all on a freaking slide. Like it just keeps getting gayer, this show. It's so great.
What is the new character's name?
Sahara?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't put them on the screen because we haven't talked about them yet.
I know, but like I ship it. Okay, continue.
So do I. Yeah. Oh, I definitely ship the two of them. And then the teachers and just everybody. They're all queer. It's
They're
great.
all queer.
All of them.
I love the photo that you picked of Isaac. He's so happy with his books.
I know. Isaac with his books. And also Isaac has wonderful taste in books. Like his queer book Rex on point as a reader. I love it. And yeah, so I love them. Can't forget the ace rep. And romance can mean more than just a person. Romance can be with a thing, an object, an idea, whatever. And for Isaac, it's reading and literary work. And I love that. So yeah, I love them. And you know, shout out to everybody who's big Nick and Charlie fan. They're absolutely freaking adorable. Another ship or ships that we've talked about on this show. We've done episodes about Glee, and like I think we all have opinions about Glee. So we have Brittany and Santana, and then Kurt and Blaine, who, like Bree kind of said with Buffy, it's like this was like prime time television show shown around the world. So these queers are very important for a lot of people that were watching at the time, because we just didn't see rep like these guys at all. So they were always hold a special place in my heart for just being on air.
Mm-hmm.
Britannia was the best.
They were the best. I love them so much because they're the friends. I guess friends to lovers is kind of their trajectory.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had like a good
friends
solid
to casual lovers to lovers.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of where that went. But they were a good like complementary type of relationship where they were just very supportive of each other always. That made them really special. And like Kurt and Blaine were kind of like that as well. So despite Glee's problematic shit, these were some good old ships back in the day.
Except the double wedding.
Yeah, the dual wedding at the end was just weird, but it's like we're saving time, I guess, by doing this.
What's up with dual weddings?
I don't know. I fucking
so
hate
much.
them.
I hate dual weddings.
Yeah, me too. Why is it always with queer? Why is there always a queer couple involved?
Why do the queers have to share wedding day?
I don't know.
It doesn't make any.
The reverse, it was two straights, but I still hated it.
I still hate it.
I don't care.
It's just, I guess it's to save time.
No.
Get out. So to them, they also had happy endings at the end. Spoiler, because they get married. And then last but certainly not least is Laura and Carmilla from Carmilla the web series. Go on, Bree.
I mean, what do you just look at them? Look, adorable journalist girl, super broody, sarcastic vampire girl. That's the combo. They're wonderful. There was this like speaking, like I think it was like, what would you call it? Victim to crush to lovers.
It's like prey and predator.
Yeah,
prey and
predator.
Puppy dog crush.
Because if you haven't seen it, go watch this web series. You can just like watch it really quick, and then watch the movie.
Oh, I love the movie.
Yeah, the movie's great. But you've got Carmilla, who's a vamp. It's based on a very old piece of literature called Carmilla. And anyway, I don't know if many people would read that. I have, but it's not like the series. So basically, Carmilla's whole goal is to get Laura and help her mother sacrifice Laura to this giant god, this god, basically. So that's what she's been doing for hundreds of years, getting girls and stealing them away to be sacrificed to a god. But she falls in love with Laura and wackiness ensues, and they do end up together forever.
They do.
I really need to finish the show.
It's so good. And the movie is like, the movie's almost standalone. Like, it's fucking amazing. And you
could definitely watch the movie without seeing the series, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And the movie's great too. If you don't know anything, they start off together immediately in this movie and like stay together. But you also have an actress in there who's in another ship later we're going to talk about, who's Dominique Provechosly, I think is how you say her last name.
Yep.
I'm sorry if I butchered that. Who plays Waverly Earp from Winona Earp. And she's really fun in there too, to see all like these like actresses working together. Sorry, I apologize. At the time, that stuff wasn't the stereo that they were in, and all of the actors are really phenomenal. And it's just a fun movie. It's like watching for Halloween. Honestly, it like takes place in a haunted house. Like it's like a good Halloween movie. Honestly, the movie itself.
Maybe we should watch that and put it on our Patreon for Halloween.
Hey,
I mean, we could put it on probably YouTube. I don't know that it's a strike movie. Yeah, because it was like an indie movie.
Yeah,
we can look into that. But We have talked about it. We talked about it briefly when we did our Carmilla episode, and just it's fun. It's free. It's all. I mean, not the movie, I don't think, but the web series itself is on YouTube. For free,
YouTube,
so watch
yeah,
it. It's great. It's classic. Never gets old.
Season 3, when they're just, I was going to say this. Season 3, they're trapped in a library.
They are,
and it's
a
haunted library, a sentient haunted library.
Yeah, it just
that throws a lot of stuff at them.
Physically,
and
yes.
It's so the show is just, it's funny, it's cute, it's hot, because their chemistry is bananas too.
Is this show like a bottle show, like where the whole season takes place in one?
Yes, exactly.
It's because it's low budget.
It's low budget, so they literally have it's from the perspective of a webcam. So Laura's webcam, because she's documenting the process because she's a journalism student. So it's from her webcam. So she's like talking to the web. She's like she has like a show that she puts up that's like a news thing for all the people on campus to know what's going on in the big war with the dean / evil vampire lady.
Oh, yeah. The cousin. Maddie.
Oh, no. I mean, like the dean.
Oh, got it. Never mind. So there's a lot.
Carmilla's mom.
Yeah. Anyway, super fun. And then if you really like these actresses, they were in a movie together called Almost Adults, which was done by the creators of the web series, or the web channel, Gay Women's Channel, who were fucking hilarious. I love them.
Yeah.
That
was like the first people I watched when I came out.
Me too.
Stuff.
I love them. They're hilarious. But they play friends, like best friends in that show or the movie. But their chemistry together is so great. I love these actors. We could talk about them all day also. We have for many hours. So yeah, check out that episode if you want to reminisce on Carmilla, and just check out Carmilla in general.
Natasha Neglevantis. Sorry.
Love her.
Ugh.
Love her. I love
That's
both
how you
of them.
say the last name? I could never figure out how to say it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that concludes our intro to ships, happy ships. I think before we move into the tragic ships, platonic ships, crack ships, and our fan ships submitted by our fans, I think we should end the episode here.
I think that's a good idea.
All right. The ships can go on and on and on, and they bring out the passion in everyone. So we will continue this and get into some. Really, my favorite ships are all fucking sad as fuck, and the crack ships. I love crack ships. So like we have plenty more. So if you've heard some of your ships that you've submitted so far, thank you for submitting them. We totally agree with everything you've sent us. We appreciate your insight into what you like in a ship. We will continue this and go on to the rest of the journey with ships. And until next time, continue hydrating for lesbian Jesus.
And gaying it up all over the place.
Yeah.
Bye.
And with that, we've been Big Gay Energy. If you like this episode, check out all our other episodes right here on YouTube. Please leave a comment below, and subscribe for more amazing, super gay content.
If you'd like to support us, check out our merch store, or join our Patreon for early access to episodes, exclusive content, and so much more.
Until next time, stay safe and hydrate for lesbian Jesus.